Hello, I'm Mr. Smith. Okay, so the first step will be to open up Google SketchUp. So I've gone to the start icon and then to the start icon and then STMDT and then Google SketchUp. Okay, when you're in this program, you need to go to Window and then we've got Preferences. So look at this. You can go to Window at the top and then down to Preferences. And you're looking for millimeters. So it was already set to millimeters, but if it isn't, you need to go to Units, Millimeters, gone for the product design woodwork, click OK, and you need to do File and New, and you should have a grey background like this. It was already set up previously. Next thing we're going to do is the base of the train design. So I'm drawing out. What I do is you click in the origin point, which is the beginning here, and then you just don't double click, just click once and then drag out, and you can see it will bring a line across. Once you've done this, you're then going to type, and you'll see it in the bottom right hand corner, the amount that you want it to be. So in this case I've got 200 comma and then 68, and then you click enter, and then it will make it the size you want. So that's 200 millimeters, which is 20 centimeters, by 68 millimeters, which is 6.8 centimeters. And now I've just zoomed in on that to full scale it to extent, and it's that button there. You click on that button and then it zooms to extent, and if you want to zoom out a little bit, then you can press this one and just drag down with your mouse and it'll drag it out. Then I'm going to push pull up, and you've got to be careful that you don't click and hold. At this point you've got to click once and then pull up, and it will keep it free at this time until you decide on the height you want it to be. So you'll see I've slightly made a mistake on this. I'm going to edit and undo. I'm going to click once, drag up, and then type in the height I want it to be, which is 18. So you'll see 18 here, and then click enter, and it makes it exactly the height you want it to be. Zoom it around until it's in the position you want it. Okay, I'm going to work on the front section first, try and create a little triangle section. So what I'm going to do here is I've used the tape measure tool, which is this one. I've clicked not in the middle, it's actually better if you click just off to one side. Click on this line here, and then just one time, and then drag across, and you can type in the distance that you want it to be. So in this case I'm typing in 20, which is 2 centimeters, and then click enter, and I want this to be in the middle, and if you hover over the middle it'll turn blue. There's a little blue icon here, so if you go along that line you'll see the middle highlights for you. Okay, at this point I'm going to draw a line with the pencil across from that point to that point, and that point to that point. I'm going to use the push pull tool now to then push that down. Now at this point here you want to drag it down until it says offset limit to -18. That means it's gone all the way down to the bottom. So you need to make sure it's got that icon, and then it'll get rid of that section completely. Okay, now I'm rotating it around again using the rotate tool, the orbit tool. Then click on the push pull tool and then do the same on the side. So it should say offset limit 18, -18. Now I want to do a little arc here at this point for the back where a trailer could attach to the train. Again, I'm using the tape measure, so I regularly use the measurements to then decide how big I want things to be. So if I click on the tape measure, decide how far in I want it to be. So I'm going to do 20, so you'll see me type 20 and click enter. Then again from here, type 20 in and click enter. So 20 by 20, which is 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, and do the same on the other side. And then when you're doing an arc, there's like a little icon just here next to the pencil. It's got a little red that highlights what you need to click on first. So go back a little bit, you'll see, just trim onto this bit, so that's 20 down again. You can see, so click on the little arc tool, and you can see the little red icon there, and then the red icon there, and then it tells you where to go to next. So I'm going to go halfway along here, and that's where I want it to be. So it's that, and then it tells you the intersection bit. And then push pull, so again to the offset limit, rotate it around so we can make sure it goes all the way down. Push pull to the offset limit. Now, I'm going to work out where the cabin needs to be positioned. So I'm going to think very carefully about where you want things to go. So in this case, I'm going to use a tape measure again. I'm going to measure in from this line. I'm just going to do it 5mm. So type in 5 and click enter. And do the same thing. So it's going to start 5mm in. Now I'm going to bring the cabin up 5mm, start at 5mm in this direction as well, and then it's going to come along to 80mm and type in 80 into here. Click enter, so that's where my cabin's going to go. I need to know the thickness of my walls, so in this case it's going to be a 3mm MDF, so I'm going to use 3, type in 3. Again, 3 on the other side. Just to be clear on one thing, when you're doing this and you're dragging in, can you see this blue line? That's the vertical. The green line, that's the horizontal, and sorry, the up and down in this case, and then the red is across. So when you're dragging across, it needs to be that colour in order for it to be. So it would be green in this case to make sure that it's sticking to those lines. If I'm doing it from here, just go back a little bit. Can you see when I did that? That's red, that one, which means it's going straight across the red line. And when I do this next one here, it's going to be green because it's going in that direction. You can see the arrow, very tiny there. The arrow is green, which tells me it's going perfectly along that line, along that direction. It has to make sure that you're aware of that, otherwise it starts doing measurements all over the place at different angles. So it was 3, and then 3 in from the other side. So I've done my measurements. Now I'm going to use the rectangle tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle from that point to that point, and then push pull, and then hover over it until you see the dots. I didn't click once, I held onto it. So I need to click once, then drag up, and then I'm going to type in the size I want. So I'm going for 80mm high, and click enter. You need to make sure that you don't click and hold. Same here, so rectangle 80, sorry, the rectangle first, and then push pull, make sure it's got the dots on that, pull up, 80, click enter. Now the front section here is going to be quite as high, so I'm going to have like a little window to see through. So again, I'm going to use a tape measure, you can see the colour of it, it's going to be red because it's going along the red line now, 3mm. Okay, and then let's use the rectangle again, square tool or the rectangle tool, click on that point and then that point, and then it should let me, there it is, you can pick the right point, and then you're going to come up, I'm going to type in, I think it was 50mm, 55mm for the height of that. Okay, so now I'm going to draw some little porthole windows and little circle windows for the driver of the train to be able to see through. So again, I've dragged in 20mm, down 20, so that was blue, it's along the blue line. Then I click in the centre and then drag out, and then I'm going to type in the radius, which is just from the centre to the outside that I want it to be, which I think is, I think I did it 15. Find out when we come out to the side, and then push pull that away again. So again, I've come down 20mm, click enter. Come in 20mm, type in 20 and click enter. And then the circle tool, click, drag out, and then type in 15, and then click enter again. And then you're going to push pull that away. So if you're struggling to see, run that little bit. If you're struggling to push pull, what you can do is if you click on the object and then hover over the depth you want it to be, which would be this back line, you notice how deep you want it to be. Watch this. I go to the push pull tool, click on the object, and then hover over that point, which is where I want it to go to. It knows how far through I want it to go. I'm going to use a tape measure. So I want to do like a roof for it, but I don't want it to be directly in line. So green axis across, typed in 10. Do the same thing. So it's corner to corner, it's like opposite corners when you're drawing squares or rectangles. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. So you'll see the colour of it, which is green. And then green, that's this. Again, I've got typed in 10. And I'm going to come out a little bit from that point as well. So again, it's in the red axis now. So you'll see it's turned red. So I've just typed in 10. I want it to be quite a big roof. From there to there, I then draw a rectangle. Now, I'm going to push pull that up. I can see already there's a problem with it. It's bringing, unfortunately, it's separating these bits out, which is causing me some problems. And I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but because I'm not sure on the better way, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to undo the rectangle. I'm going to use the tape measure tool. I'm going to bring it up a little bit, just 2 millimeters higher. You can see a little dot, put a little dot of 2 millimeters higher. Again, type in 2. I'm going to draw a rectangle from that point now to that point, which means it's not resting on that face, it's a separate object. Click on the object, type in, I'm going to put 18 millimeters up because that's the thickness of the wood I'm going to be using. And there is a little gap between points. So if you want to get rid of that gap and you want it to sit perfectly on the surface, if you orbit it around so you can just see the flat profile of it, and use the select tool, you can select directly around the object. You have to make sure it's owned that object you're selecting, so you can see, make sure you don't get anything else. And then the move tool is that one there, so I can click on that point and then bring it down to that point. And you can see now it's then let me place it where I want it to be, and it's how I want it to look. And the next thing is I'm going to use a chamfer, which means it's like a little angle on the roof so that the water would come off easier. So I'm going to click off that, select just into space and deselect. Drag along, type in 18 millimeters because that's 18 thick. Go along 18 millimeters again. Just left a little dot there. Draw a little line from there to there, and from there to there. Then you can use the push pull tool to then push it all the way out. Offset limit. Just makes it look like more of a roof. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little bar coming up from here, which will be where you'd attach a trailer. So I'm going to position it 10 millimeters in. Okay, I'm going to use the circle tool, click on the center, drag out, type in, do 3 millimeters, just a small little piece of doweling. I need to click and then only once and then drag up, and then type in 20 millimeters. Okay, so the next thing is I want to draw like a little engine at the front. So I want the engine to come from this point here. So I'm going to have it 25, tape measure in, so it's 25 up, and then draw a circle on this face, down to the bottom, and then I'm going to try and push pull it out, but I realise there's a problem and it's not working. So I'm going to do is undo it, and I'm just going to bring it down just slightly short of 25. So if I do say 24, then it's sitting perfectly on that face, and now it'll let me push pull it. So if you do it directly to it, won't let you. So you just need to bring it slightly short, just so it knows it's not connected to this piece. Now I'm going to push pulled it out, and then I've hovered over this line to tell the computer system where I need to push pull out to, so it tells you where to position it. Okay, so that's in line with this line here. Okay, so it's only a fraction bit above, it's not something that'll be noticeable. And I'm now going to draw a circle on the front here for just a little bit to stick out, just so it makes it look a little bit better. The front, a little design feature. Now it's not finding the middle of the circle, annoyingly. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to need to tape measure again. And I'm going to, it finds the middle. If you come across that way, it's green, and then across that way. And now I've got the center. Click, drag out, and I'm going to do it. It's about 10. There you go. Click enter. And then push pull out. Just a little bit of detail, just to make it a little bit better. Now, the next thing is I'm going to do a little chimney here coming out from the top of the engine. You can see I've measured out how far I want it to go, but it's not sitting right because it's a circle. It's struggling to draw a circle from that point. So I'm having a bit of difficulty figuring out exactly how to do this. I'm trying a few different options. I draw like a little tape measure in green across here. So I'm just going to 3 millimeters. I'm going to try doing it now. But again, it's still not quite connecting. It's doing it the circle at a tilt. So it's not going to work. So I've got to then figure out what's best to do. Okay, so again, it's not working. I'm going to try and do a circle a little bit higher up. So the same kind of problem as before, 1 millimeter higher. And I'm going to bring it back down again afterwards. Zoom in just so you can see it's a little bit better. Again, it's still tilting even though it's higher up, it's not working. So again, I've gone across now 3 millimeters and we'll try again. And unfortunately, it is doing exactly the same thing. So you've got to figure things out and work out how to solve these problems. So instead, I've gone for I'm going to draw like the cylinder separate and then position it on where I want it to be. So I'm going to draw it over here somewhere. So it's going to be 3 millimeter. So click and then drag out tag 3. I drag it out how big you want it to be. So I've done 20 millimeters high. And then I'm going to select it with the select click. I have to go right around the whole thing. And use the move tool. So now I'm going to use the move tool, which is this one again, the arrow. I'm going to move it to the top of the chimney. Now you've got to try and keep repositioning it so it's in the best place. So if you move it to one place, I'm just trying to get it closer and closer each time. So it looked right, rotate it around, and even though it looked right from one angle, it's not. So you need to keep going, and you can possibly snap it to those little measurements. It's still not done it, even though it looked like it was going to, but it's a lot closer now. So now I can use the snap tool, hover over, and there you go, it's kind of getting there now. There it is. Okay, so you can see then it's positioned where you want it to be. Okay, so there's very often when you're using this program, one thing that might not work, but you've got to then try and figure out a better way of doing it. Now, I'm going to work on the wheels. So I've measured down 9 millimeters, which is half that distance. I'm going to measure it 40 millimeters along, where the center of the wheel is going to go. So 40 millimeters. Then I'm going to measure back again 30 millimeters and draw my wheel in that place. And you see it was green because it's been drawn in this axis. So again, 40, back again, 30. You can see it wants to do it in the blue axis, which is not what I want. So we just rotate the screen around, and then it should then change to the green axis. Now, this isn't going to work. Again, I'm coming to another problem. It's not going to work at the minute. So when I try to push pull that, it's going to push pull these bits separately. And I want it to do it as a solid object. So instead, I'm going to do some of those guidelines. do is I'm going to step it out a little bit again. So using the tape measure tool, bring it out on the green axis, which is this line, 5 millimeters. Enter, and just put a line across. Just going to then come across 5 from this one as well. And I'm going to draw my circle then from there to there. And then that's done as a whole circle now, and actually the fact there's a bit of distance there, I think makes it better, because it's more like a wheel. You wouldn't have it too close to that point to a catch on the side of the train. Pull that out, it's 3mm wood I'll be using, so again I've done that 3mm, and then repeat that on the other side. Okay, now rotate it around and then you can repeat again on the other side. Okay, so the train is there or thereabouts finished. There's a few little things I might add. I'm going to delete all of these confusing lines now. So click on a little rubber. You just hover over them or keep your finger down and delete them all in one go. You can just go around and delete any of the bits that you wish. Okay, so at this stage now I'm just going to colour it. So I've used the paint bucket tool, which is this little option. You can click on different types. So you click on here, you can choose different materials. But I've gone for a wood effect. So then you just then go around it and click on all the bits that you want to be coloured. If it won't let you click on it, you just zoom in around, zoom in, and then just click on it. Just having a good look to make sure you've got everything. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to draw a little circle in the centre of these wheels, so where a little bit downwind would come through. So I'm going for a 3mm, or it'll be a 6mm downwind, so the radius from the centre to the outside will be 3. So tape measure, draw those all out, and then you can draw some little bits of downwind going through. Now ideally, you kind of want it going to stick all the way through. It's not quite working, so I'm going to make it come out a little bit so it looks like it sticks slightly round the wheel. I'm just going for, click on it, 2mm out, same thing here, and then repeat on the other side. Now, there's a slight issue with when you turn it around, if you're trying to capture it from certain angles, is you can't see then the bar coming through from this point. So In a minute, I'm going to have a look at ways in which I can make the bar go all the way through the piece of wood so it looks even better. So from all different angles, if you take little screenshots of it, it'll look better. I'm just colouring the backs of the wheels again so that you can, when you are photographing it or you need to print screen it for anything, from all angles it looks like it's coloured. Okay, now you can see there's the issue. So what I'm going to do now is figure out how I can make it so the bars run all the way through. So I'm going to rub out the circle, do it again. So this time I'm going to come out a little bit, 2mm. I'm going to do my little doweling as a completely separate object. You can see now the circle is just sticking out separately. And now push pull all the way through. You can see now it's come all the way through. And then we've got to then bring it back so it's in line. I'm going to bring it through so it's level with that edge, and I can just colour that. And this program, as long as it looks right, that's the most important thing. You can see now you can just colour that little spindle, the doweling coming all the way through. And then repeat on the other one. Okay, so that's the finished design. Obviously, just try your best. You can delete then the measurements afterwards, and then that is finished, ready for them making the tray out of wood. Alright, thank you for watching.